When we think about a conflict, we usually have a starting point in mind, right? But what if the real beginning, the moment that truly set the stage for 100 years of violence, is a story most of us have never heard? Today, we're digging into the 1929 Hebron massacre. And we're not looking at it as some forgotten piece of history, but as a foundational trauma whose ghosts are still very much at war.
It's almost hard to imagine now, but before Hebron became this flashpoint of conflict, it was something completely different. As journalist Yardena Schwartz puts it, it was a beacon of coexistence. This wasn't just about tolerating each other. It was a real, deeply intertwined community. We're talking about neighbors, business partners, friends, all living together in the second holiest city in Judaism, the burial place of Abraham.
And we have this incredible personal window into this lost world, all thanks to the letters of a guy named David Schamberg. In 1928, this 22-year-old from Memphis, Tennessee, did something pretty rare for the time. He moved all the way to Hebron to study. And every single week, he wrote home, painting this picture of a peaceful city, a place where life was really about faith and community, not conflict. But that peace, well, it was fragile. And it was about to be absolutely shattered by this man, Hajj Amin al-Husseini, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. He was appointed by the British, which made him the most powerful Arab leader in Palestine. His influence was just immense, covering both religious and political life.
So, what was his motivation? Turns out it was mostly political. He was a deeply corrupt and unpopular leader, and he was facing serious allegations about misusing funds. So, in a classic political move to distract everyone from his own failures, he needed to unite his people. And to do that, he needed an enemy. He found one in Zionism, and a powerful weapon in religion.
And he didn't do this overnight. For an entire year, he waged this relentless disinformation campaign. First, he started spreading the lie that Jews were secretly plotting to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. Then, he deliberately stirred up tensions at the Western Wall, the holiest site for Jewish prayer. And the final step, a direct call to arms, using Friday sermons to whip his followers into a frenzy. In August of 1929, that tinderbox he'd been building just exploded. It started during the Jewish holy day of Tisha B'Av. Thousands of Jews were praying at the Western Wall. The Mufti pointed to this and said, "See, proof of their plot." A counter-protest by some young Zionists the next day gave him the exact spark he needed. On Friday, August 23rd, the call for jihad went out from Al-Aqsa and riots erupted. The very next day, the violence came to Hebron.
67. Just let that number sink in. That's how many unarmed Jews, men, women, and children, were slaughtered in Hebron in just a few hours. These weren't soldiers, these were civilians living in a city they thought was safe, a city where their families had lived for generations.
The horror of what happened next it's hard to even put into words. Mobs of over 3,000 men, armed with swords and axes, poured into the ancient Jewish quarter. They just went from house to house. 70 people had hidden in the home of Eliezer Schlam, a respected bank manager, thinking his good relationships would keep them safe. He, his wife, and their little boy were murdered, along with 24 others in that one house. And David Schamberg, that young American student, he was killed too. His year of study in a peaceful city ended in a massacre.
So you might be asking yourself, where were the authorities in all of this? The ones who were supposed to keep the peace? Well, the British police chief in Hebron, Raymond Caffaretta, had been warned the riots were coming, but he ordered his men not to use their guns. It was only after the massacre was over, when the mob actually turned on him, that he finally opened fire. It was a catastrophic failure to act.
Okay, now this is where the ghosts of 1929 become absolutely impossible to ignore. The justification for the violence back then was a lie about defending the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Fast forward nearly a century, and what does Hamas name its October 7th attack? The Al-Aqsa Flood. It is the exact same religious pretext weaponized for the exact same purpose, to justify the slaughter of civilians.
And the aftermath? Well, it created a blueprint that is just chillingly familiar. Right after the massacre, Arab leaders launched a campaign of denial and victim blaming. They denied the atrocities ever happened. They blamed Jewish immigration. Some even pushed conspiracies that the Jews had killed their own people. This pattern of denying violence while also justifying it has just echoed down the decades. So how is this history remembered today? This part is crucial. The British did eventually arrest thousands, but they only executed 3 men for their role in the massacre. To this day, the Palestinian Authority honors those 3 men as some of the earliest heroes of the Palestinian cause. The anniversary of their execution is still commemorated as Martyrs' Day.
Which brings us to this final question.
The story of 1929 isn't just one of hate, it's also a story of incredible heroism and a shared humanity that was deliberately ripped apart. If Arabs and Jews could once live as friends and neighbors in Hebron, what are the political forces and the historical narratives that are keeping the ghosts of that massacre from finally being laid to rest?